Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you guys are doing great and you're getting into the groove this second week of online learning. I'm kind of feeling like it might be another week or so before I get to see you guys. I'm really sad. I miss you all, and I am hoping that we will do maybe like a Google Classroom or a Google Chat. I think somebody suggested that in the Schoology post. And Google Chat works great for me. It doesn't have to be a Zoom. So I'll definitely coordinate that. I'm thinking on Thursday. So like maybe during our class on Thursday, I think it's an H day. So um, maybe perhaps we'll just do it like at the second half of the class, maybe like the last 20 minutes or so. Anyways, I got a couple emails from you guys just concerned about what the College Board made some changes. I was equally upset about the changes, but I'm just trying to take I'm changing my mindset with it, and whatever it is that they're going to give us for the test, you guys are super prepared. I mean, we've gone through every unit except one that will be tested. I'm super sad because the units that aren't going to be tested, quite frankly, are my favorite units, and they're the units that are just the most interesting. So we've already started Unit 12. We're like three-fourths of the way through, almost there. So this week I'm going to continue Unit 12 just because any psych class you're going to take in college, you should really know this information. I would be remiss if I wasn't teaching you abnormal. And it's interesting. So the rest of this week, we're just going to cruise through Unit 12. I'm going to have you still do your reading guide. And that's going to be like an first assignment for fourth quarter. You guys can like take pictures of it for me and email it. I will not be testing you on it. So that's a plus. But just because it's not going to be on the test, but I do feel like it's just useful information. And it's super interesting, and you will have to have that information when you go to college and take any psych class. They're going to have this content of abnormal in it. And then it makes me feel better that you've gotten at least 12 of the 14 units. Some of the social psych we've already kind of talked about a little bit about in the beginning of the year. And then the treatment it's kind of all of the different like the different theories. And we've talked about a lot of those. We just haven't really applied them when it comes to treatment of abnormal psychology. So I think those two things are okay not having, but a Unit 12, we're already in it, and I feel like it's worthy for me to finish the unit with you, even though we're not being tested on it. So it's just a good grade booster for fourth quarter because the packet isn't tough to do, and you'll just follow along with my notes the rest of the week, and then we'll kind of be done with Unit 12. So in terms of next week, that's when I'm going to start Unit 11 with you. Unit 11 is what I was going to have you guys do during spring break. I was just going to require you to do the packet. But, this at least gives us a week to do it together. I'll give you the reading guide, and then we'll just do notes like we were doing now. Like I'll go through my Prezi for it, and we'll touch base on the important terms on it. And then by that time, at least April 3rd will come. So basically, I just want to give you the facts of what College Board has said if you haven't heard. They are doing the AP testing. It is going to be at home, and it will be just 45 minutes. So every AP class that you're in and you're taking the test for, it's just going to be 45 minutes. So, my AP Psych, that test was a little over 2 hours. And so that's going to be cut down to 45 minutes. I don't have any information other than the fact that there's no multiple choice. I'm assuming, and so do some of the other psych teachers I've talked to, that it's going to be FRQ and so essay based. But like a lot of us are like, it's not going to be the same FRQ. It can't be the same as normal, but we're going to have more information on April 3rd. So I feel like there's really, I don't even to speculate, and I don't know. We don't know what it's going to be. So I feel like let's just move on. We'll do Unit 12 together, finish it out, grade booster for sure. Unit 11 will start next week, and then that's all the content of it. So then after that, we'll just review. I have already started this cram packet. I mean, I made it last year, but I'm kind of tweaking it now. So this is what you'll see. And I have it for every single unit. So basically all of the really, really important things from every unit are going to be in here. And obviously I'm going to give you a copy of this because I feel like this will be really crucial for you for studying. You know, I love to do some color diagrams in there, so that's in there. I was already working on this FRQ terms. So I was coming up with this a while back just to kind of give you guys a little bit. So this I think will be really helpful for all of us when we review. All of these terms that you see here, these were all used in the last, I think I went way back to like 10 years. These are the terms that were in the FRQs. So they're FRQ, they have been on FRQs over the last 10 years. They've come up. So you can kind of see there's a lot of FRQ topics from Unit 1 and 2. There's quite a few from Unit 3, Unit 4. These are all units we've been going over. Unit 7 is a big hitter, so I'd love to go back through some of these to make sure you understand it. So I'm going to have those documents for you hopefully next week. Okay, so just to recap, Unit 12, we're going to finish out this week. So I'll have my Prezi on that today. We're going to go over mood disorders, and then I'm going to have the questions for you at the end. So I have a video, the crash course today, and then I have just 5, there I am. I just have 5 AP Classroom questions, okay? So we'll go through mood disorders today. Tomorrow we'll hit like somatic disorders, I think, and maybe personality disorders. And then we'll Google chat on Thursday with questions and stuff about the AP and just how the class is going to look like. But listen, I don't want anybody worrying about my grades right now because like I am just worried more about you learning and understanding like the content and being prepared for the test. So you're good for my class. Like third quarter's over on Friday. I've looked at some of your grades. Mostly people are in a zone that I'm really great with. So some of these assignments though, some of you who have like 89s right now, the assignments this week hopefully will put you in that 90 zone. I didn't see really any 94s, so I was kind of more worried about 84s and 89s, but you guys are good for grades. Like just don't stress about grades with me. Don't stress about tests with me. Like now I really want us to be in the mindset of like we're moving into the AP test, okay? I'm going to give you plenty of opportunity to get fourth quarter grades looking good. I mean, fourth quarter is usually the best quarter anyways in my class. So nobody's worrying about grades and tests because we're going to be fine with that. I just really want us to like kind of move into the zone where we're going to finish out Unit 11 and then really start to hunker down with like reviewing. Okay. Okay, so for this week, we're going to just finish out Unit 12. So we've talked about schizophrenia, we've talked about anxiety disorders, we've talked about OCD, we've talked about PTSD, and now we're going to move into mood disorders category. And in mood disorders, the 2 most common are going to be depressive disorders and then bipolar disorder. And bipolar disorder, that used to be referred to as manic depression. Okay, but then they changed that and now it's bipolar. And so we will move into that. Okay, so mood disorders, those are psychological disorders characterized by these emotional extremes. So like extreme sadness, extreme manic episodes, those kinds of emotions. Okay, so it's most commonly in the DSM-5 is, it's major depressive disorder, and then bipolar disorder. Those are the 2 biggest ones in here. But there's also a lot of different other mood disorders that are characterized, but those are the 2 most common in mood disorders. Okay. So on the depressive end, the most common one in that one is the major depressive disorder. And listen, we all experience a depressed mood from time to time. I got to tell you, being quarantined is giving me a little bit of a depressed mood. But I'm still able to shower and get up, and I make my bed and I make everybody breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so it's, even though I'm feeling a little bit of this isolation and, these feelings, it doesn't categorize this as a major depressive disorder because I'm still functioning with my day-to-day life. Okay. And we know from having, from the beginning of the Prezi that it has to interfere with day-to-day life to get these diagnoses. Okay. So major depressive disorder, this is a mood disorder in which a person experiences, assuming no drug use, no self-medicating, so 2 or more weeks with 5 or more symptoms. They're very specific with this when you're getting a diagnosis of major depressive disorder. So you have to have at least one of the two here. So you have to have at least a depressed mood or a loss of interest or pleasure in normal things that you do. But then you also have to have, at least, several of these other symptoms as well. So there's going to be fatigue. You're lethargic, you might have problems concentrating, making decisions, you might have some significant weight change, either you've lost a lot of weight, you've gained a lot of weight, insomnia, or perhaps you're sleeping too much, and then feelings of worthlessness, and you might have some recurrent suicidal thoughts in there. Okay, so these are symptoms, and they're 2 or more weeks with 5 or more symptoms of depression. Okay, that's how you would get this diagnosis here. And really, depression is the #1 reason that people seek mental health. Just facts there. Okay, so we have major depression is one of the depressive disorders. And then there's this one called persistent depressive disorder. And this used to be called, way back when I first started with the DSM-3, this used to be dysthymia. Okay, but they renamed it. So it's persistent depressive disorder. And it's like just more of a mild case of depression. More often than not for at least 2 years. Okay, so you have to have it for quite some time to get this. And it just requires 2 symptoms of the depressive symptoms that we saw. Okay, so, it just, the major depressive disorder is major, it's like momentary, so it's like 2 weeks you have these symptoms, but it's maximum. I mean, it's like you're in a really depressed state for 2 weeks or more. The persistent, the PDD, it's more prolonged but a little bit milder. Okay, so those were my mnemonics for how to remember the differences, because those usually came up pretty often on the AP exam. Okay, and then there's bipolar. And this one, so this is, if anybody read the book Unquiet Mind for the summer reading, Kay I think her name was Redfield, Kay Redmond. I can't remember, but it was Unquiet Mind. She wrote about, she was a psychiatrist, and she wrote about her life dealing with manic depression at the time, but they've since changed it to bipolar. And this is basically, it's a mood disorder in which a person alternates between these episodes of really severe depression and then this overexcited state of mania. So there's this manic state, and that is where someone's like euphoric, giddy, full of optimism, overly social, finds delight in everything, is really impulsive. So there might be spending sprees. They have racing thoughts, and little desire for sleep. So that's a manic episode. So, and those sometimes happen for, a day. They sometimes can go, even longer than that. But you're finding that sleep is not necessary. They're very impulsive. There's a lot of like impulsive behavior that happens too in that manic state. And then the depressive state, that is where you're feeling down, there's pessimism, social withdrawal, inactivity, no initiative, difficult focusing, just a depressed fatigue, a lot of like can't get out of bed. That's in that bipolar. So that would be in that depression state. and then the manic state, and you kind of bebop around between the two of them. Okay, so here's where I define manic here. So it's that state of abnormally optimistic, euphoric, intense happiness and hyperactivity. It usually requires at least a week of that, okay? But you could kind of go into, more or less depending, okay? All right, and then this was just, this was in your book. It's in the beginning of it, and it's just somebody that's talking about what it feels like to have bipolar. And then this one I thought was really interesting because this is an fMRI, and this shows you kind of the differences of what the brain looks like. Here's May 17th, and then look at all of this activity in that fMRI, and that's in a manic state. So think about things that are happening where the frontal lobe would be involved in all of that. And you can see kind of how these areas are really lit up. So you could see where there's this elation of happiness, this euphoria, impulsive behavior in there. And then it goes back to this depressed state, May 27th. Okay, so I just thought that was interesting. So bi is 2, and then polar is opposite. So, bipolar, manic versus depression, both of those. Okay. So major depression, you're going to have those big characteristics of depression, and then bipolar, you're going to have the opposite, the mania and the depression all in one there. Okay, so understanding mood disorders, we kind of touched on this a little bit in the beginning. It happens, maybe I didn't bring it up, I forgot. It's women are more susceptible to depression, and you can see from this chart that women kind of are a little bit higher than men in the depression category. We're more susceptible. And then, depression prone people. So it's kind of like that internal versus external locus of control. This is like kind of learned helplessness. If, depression prone people, they're, how they explain a bad event, it just might be in that pessimistic kind of like, this is going to last forever. So that's where Martin Seligman, he kind of termed that learned helplessness. We talked about that way back in the learning unit with the dog. Depression sometimes can be just learned helplessness in that. Okay. Biological perspective, mood disorders tend to run in families. Twin studies have shown higher rates of depression with identical versus fraternal twins, which was kind of the same with schizophrenia too. Okay, and then we know from the bio unit that the neurotransmitters that are happening in there is with depression is the serotonin levels are shown to be low. So that one's a big one. That definitely will probably pop up on the AP exam. I'm thinking something will happen with neurotransmitters. So we know that, not enough serotonin is definitely a characteristic of depression, and too much of it is what you can see when you're in a manic episode. Okay. Let's see, I think that is it with that one. So just a couple other things to keep in mind. There are 2 types of bipolar, just for your own reference. There's bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Bipolar 2 is a little milder. You deal with these like hypomanic episodes, so they're not as manic, but they're still in that manic episode. Okay, so due today, and I changed it, thank you, Renee. I changed it to 7:00 a.m. as a due date. A couple of you had said 11:59, could it be at 8 o'clock? I start looking at everything at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I don't care if it's done at midnight or 7 o'clock. So I changed the AP Classroom to 7 o'clock. There's only 5 questions today. And then there's a crash course that you can watch. Just kind of talking about the differences between major depression and bipolar. I will set up a Google chat for us on Thursday. So period 3 meets first. So maybe like 8:30, 8:40 for that. I don't think we're going to need more than like 15 minutes just to say hello and ask any questions about the AP. And then the same thing with period 2. That'll be like 9:30, 9:45. Okay, don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything. I hope you guys are doing great. I'm really proud of you. And again, I don't want anybody worried about grades in my class. You guys are doing fabulous, and you will continue to do fabulous. So no worries. And you guys are ready for my exam. We are like you guys are gonna kill it. Okay, we're beating McKeag, just so you know. Okay, have a good night. I will see you guys all soon. Take care.